Hi everyone, Yasas Kefalotiri to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a version of moussaka, which is a classic Greek recipe that's kind of modern. We're going to make moussaka stacks. They're little individual portions of moussaka. So easy to do, and I'll teach you how to do many of the steps ahead of time. So if you're serving this at a dinner party, all you have to do is put it together that day and serve it. Another thing that we're changing about it, instead of making a classic bechamel recipe where you cook the flour and the butter and the milk and all that kind of stuff on the stove, we're gonna do a yogurt version that's a no stovetop version, right? It's you just whisk everything in a bowl and you pour it on top, and it's gonna be so tasty yet so easy to make. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to begin by making the meat sauce. I'm going to finely chop an onion and add it to a skillet that's heating over medium heat. Drizzle in some olive oil, just 2 to 3 tablespoons, and a little pinch of salt, and cook the onion until it's soft and golden. That should take anywhere between 8 to 10 minutes. Once the onion is ready, add in 3 garlic cloves that have been grated, and just warm them through until they're fragrant. Next, we'll add 1 pound of ground beef. This is not lean ground beef, so it is going to release some oil. You can brown the beef first if you want to get rid of that oil, but I'm just going to leave it in there. Brown the beef a little bit with the onions and the garlic until the pinkness is gone. Then we're going to season it with some salt and freshly cracked black pepper, a little pinch of cinnamon. Just a 1/4 teaspoon is all you need to make it aromatic. Some crushed red pepper flakes if you want some heat. And then I'm going to add a 15-ounce can of tomatoes. These are crushed tomatoes. Just add it in there. I also like to rinse the can out with a little bit of water just to get all the tomatoes in there. Mix everything all up, and this is going to cook for about 15 to 20 minutes until the meat is fully cooked and the sauce is nice and thick. Once the sauce is ready, turn the heat off and add a heaping teaspoon of dried oregano. I also finely chopped some parsley. That's going in. Give everything a nice mix. And you can also taste the sauce just to make sure it has enough seasoning. And if it needs anything else, you could add it in at this point. Take it off the heat and set it aside while you get the veggies ready. So peel 4 to 5 potatoes. These are just golden potatoes. Russet potatoes work too. And then slice them so that way they're around the same size that the eggplants are going to be sliced. So they need to be about 1 inch thick. Then put all the potato slices on a baking pan, drizzle a little bit of olive oil on them, and season both sides with salt and pepper. These are going to bake in a preheated 425-degree oven until they're fork tender and slightly golden. That's going to take about 30 minutes. So you can put those in the oven first while you prepare the eggplant, because the eggplant cooks a little bit quicker. So I have 2 eggplants here. I'm just going to slice them into rounds. I'm not peeling the skin off, and they're going to be about 1 inch thick, just like this. They're also going to all go, I'm going to make them fit on this baking tray so I don't have to wash one more thing. And instead of drizzling oil on them, I'm going to pour some oil out in a little bowl, and I'm just going to brush each eggplant with the oil so that way they don't get too greasy and they're all covered in oil. And I'm going to do this with both sides and season both sides with some salt and pepper. And these are going to go in on the top rack, and they'll be fork tender in about 20 minutes. Keep an eye on them. They might need 5 more minutes. Once they look like this, they're ready. They should be nice and soft and fully cooked. Set those aside to cool a little bit so that way they're easy to handle. And now we're going to make the bechamel sauce. So in a bowl over here, I have 2 cups of Greek yogurt. Try to use Greek yogurt because it's thicker and it's just going to hold up better. Then I'll add a 1/2 cup of heavy cream to it, 2 egg yolks, and I'll add about a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Season it with some salt and freshly cracked black pepper. And then I'll just mix in 1 cup of either Kefalotiri or grated Parmesan. Mix that all up and set it aside. And now let's put everything all together and let's make these stacks. So I'll use the same pan that the potatoes baked in, because these are basically going to be stacked over the potatoes. So why dirty one more thing, right? I'll just move the smaller potatoes to the side so that way I work with the bigger potatoes first. And I'll start with the potatoes, sprinkle a little bit of cheese on top of them. I'm using Parmesan. And then I'll add an eggplant slice on top and about a heaping tablespoon or so of the meat sauce. Top that with another eggplant slice. And if you run out of eggplants, you could top it with a potato slice. That's fine. And then I'm just gonna add a heaping spoonful of the yogurt bechamel on top, sprinkle, finish it off with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And I do have lots of potatoes ready, so I'll just stack these with the meat in between them. I'll just do one slice of potato on the bottom, some of that meat sauce on top, a potato on top, the bechamel and Parmesan. These are gonna go in the oven, and the oven temperature, I reduced it right now to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and they're gonna bake for about 30 minutes or until the sauce gets lightly golden on top. The Moussaka stacks are out of the oven and they smell, the house just smells so cozy and comforting. This has always been my favorite Greek dish to make. Brings me back to my childhood. This and cabbage rolls. Something about those two dishes are the ultimate comfort food for me, but enough about that. Let me tell you how to do some of the steps ahead of time. So if you're serving this for a dinner party, you can prepare the eggplant slices, the potato slices, and even the meat sauce 3 days ahead of time. Meat sauce can actually be made a month ahead of time. If you make big batches of it, you can freeze it in containers and it'll stay fresh in your freezer for a month or two. And it's a great thing to have on hand because you can use this meat sauce to make so many different things with it. If you followed me before, I've done many videos on freezer prep and things like that. You can check them out later on. I'll put the links down below. But you can also have the potatoes and the eggplants ready ahead of time too. And then the day that you're serving it, you just put everything all together, make that bechamel, that yogurt bechamel, and you bake it, and it'll be on the table in no time. And you'll have such low stress if you're entertaining, right? Because there's so many things that we have to do if we're calling friends over, clean the house, make other things, desserts, this and that. If you have the stuff prepped ahead of time, it'll just make it so much easier. If you don't like eggplant, some people don't like eggplant, you can do this as potato stacks. Zucchini is a good substitute. I think those are probably the two best substitutes. I have some extra potato stacks here and they're just so comforting. Time to do the taste test, and I'm a fan of eggplant and moussaka, so I love it. When I was little, I didn't though. My mom and my tia used to make it just for me, half the tray with eggplant and the other half with zucchini because I didn't like it. But I like eggplant in this now. So good. The eggplant isn't even bitter. I usually salt it before I cook it. I skipped that step because it was pretty fresh. It melts in your mouth. So do the potatoes. The meat sauce is so good. The bechamel is slightly tangy from the yogurt. You get the cheese, just makes it so flavorful. Give this recipe a try and let me know what you think. If you prefer to make this in a big baking tray and serve it family style, you can totally do that. You don't have to make it in stacks like I did. You can make the stacks and skip the bechamel sauce and freeze them and then bake them the day that you're using them. There's so many options. I hope you guys give this recipe a try. Print the recipe out on the website, dimitrasdishes.com. If you want to learn how to make a classic moussaka, click over here and I'll see you right over there. Yes, sis.